let's say I ask a question or I pray for something, I set intention, I ask my guides. Now somebody else lives in the area and she goes to that place and she's having a conversation with her friend, or she's on her laptop and she's coming up with an idea, or she's thinking about something, she's processing something. I get called, I need to go get a smoothie from this place. And I go get a smoothie and I sit down, and I happen to sit down at the same table that this woman was at yesterday, 2 days ago, doing her processing. That woman left the grid, the template, the code right there in the field. It's hanging out there. And I get the insight right there that I needed. She just processed what I needed the information I needed to get for my own clarity, my own process. Got it, because I was in that place. When you start to understand how places interact like this, you are going to have a new sense of reverence for spaces. You're going to have realizing more of the magic that's really held in every space, and even with items, and how there's this very intricate network between all of these places always supporting you. So as many of you know, we are coming to the end of our time at Dreamland, which I can't believe. It has been the most magical year of being here. And I feel like I have lived 10 years since we moved into this place. So much has happened. This space has held so much transformation, supported me in so many ways, supported so many of you in so many ways. And our time is coming up, and I am moving houses as well. And I've talked a lot about different rituals I do when I'm moving, rituals I do when I'm leaving a space, and when I'm entering into a new space. And I am a really big believer in connecting with the energy of your home, of your space, because we have contracts with these places. There's a reason that I was meant to be here. It just kind of fell into my lap and it worked out. And I had a really strong contract with her. And I'm going to have a contract with the next place I land. And in my work with clients, it's something that comes up so often. For example, when people are having trouble selling a house or buying a house, the contracts with the land and with the spaces themselves really come into play. But also we have to really think about how, we're quote moving in. And so often people do that without consent, or without introducing themselves, or without collaborating with that space. And we have to really understand that all of these things that we interact with every single day, they all have their own energy. And I really think that we need to start interacting with things more consciously, in the sense of, okay, if I am planning on or desiring to move somewhere, I want to connect in with that space and ask, do you feel like this is aligned? I think about it like going on a date with someone. Do you want to go on a date with me? I would like to go on a date with you. Do you want to go on a date with me? Same thing with when you're moving into a space. And that's a big thing that I have been really checking in with the places that I have been looking at in terms of moving. I'll talk about that separately, but really just checking into that contract that we have with spaces. And I think this is really important with the house that you live in currently, and with any other spaces that you frequent. If you go into an office, if you don't, whether or not you quote own the space. I mean, I don't own this space, I just renting it, but whether you own it or not. So same thing, if you are going and working in a cubicle, you have a contract still with that building, with that cubicle. We really want to pay attention to the energy there. And a lot of times we are guided to certain spaces because we have a unique frequency that is going to help heal that place, and vice versa. There's always that give and take on both sides. And so I'm always looking into, what can I offer a space? How can I show up? How can I help to spread more healing or light? Or are there any messages it has? Even very practical changes with the land, for example, that comes into play. A really common example of this is people who love to plant gardens and have that type of green thumb. They're typically guided to homes where that land is asking to have more plants or more trees, things like that. So there's just this beautiful synchronistic effect. And I also find in rental properties, you'll see this often, where there is this kind of karmic rebalance with spaces, because let's say there is a not great tenant living in a rental. Then that rental, that unit, that space, that home, wherever it is, after that tenant clears, it's kind of wounded a little bit often, depending on the energy there. It's holding that space. It typically needs to be cleared, or it's looking to feel lighter, or it's looking to be healed in a certain way. And so it will attract in a very specific type of person. And when you look at resonance, it can always go multiple ways. So let's say like that space is carrying a lot of baggage from that tenant and kind of needing some more healing. Sometimes people who match that unhealed vibration that was left behind will try to come in. And then on the opposite, people who are holding more of those healing codes will be called to that space to heal it. And so, a lot of this also has to do with the contracts with the landlord and things like that. There's a lot of moving pieces, but it's very interesting to understand the energetics about who ends up landing in that space. And so I think about this a lot when I'm going to spaces, even if I'm just visiting. I always feel like, hey, is there anything I can deliver to this space or this place or anything that just needs to be cleared or upgraded, even if it's just shortly. So there's all of that coming into play. I wanted to today, as we kind of we're recording a bunch of our final episodes here at Dreamland, which is so crazy. I wanted to just tap into the energy of Dreamland herself and kind of show you a type of conversation that I might have with my space, because I want to empower you to do this yourself with the place that you live, in the areas you go to frequently, to start to have those conversations. I think the biggest barrier for people is often they just feel like they don't know how, but it's really not that hard. It's really the same thing as connecting with any spirit guide or talking to your soul. It's all just about deciding to consciously connect and being open and listening, opening up your intuitive senses, dropping in and really working those telepathy muscles to hear, to know, to perceive in whatever way. And I think being open to the messages that want to be delivered. So I'm gonna definitely drop in, and I'll just kind of reiterate here. I actually don't know if I've made a full podcast on this, but who knows? There's so many episodes. Before I leave, I'm going to have a closing ceremony with this space, with the team, and I'm also going to have a separate time with myself to just sit here and close up with her. And I like to always have a final conversation and do a ritual and just say like final goodbyes and cut cords. And I always tell people, you can use the cord cutting and energy clearing guided meditation energy work in Next Level You to make that easy. So I like to do the full closing and then I cut the cords. That's the last thing I do before I leave a space. And then when I move into a space, I have an opening ritual and ceremony, and I connect in with the home, this new home, and I, ask what the contract is and things like that. So I always like to make sure that that break is clean. A lot of things that cause just like distortion or chaos or kind of this ungrounded feeling or a messy feeling kind of get in the way of things in people's energy field has a lot to do with not having clean openings and clean closings. And so whether you are moving on from a career or moving, changing cities, shifting relationships is a really big one, but this comes up with money and relationships a lot in a very practical way. If you're feeling stuckness, you always want to make sure that you fully completed the contract with the last thing. You want to make sure that you fully close the energy with the last thing, because if that contract or that energy is still active, it can be kind of vibrationally pulling you back into that scenario. So for example, a lot of people with their love lives, reason why they can struggle moving forward can be there's still a very active energy or an open contract with somebody from before. So you want to make sure that those things are closed up. You want to make sure those things, it's a clean closure. And here's the thing, even when we close up an energy or dynamic, we can always reopen a new dynamic with that person or that place, whatever it is. So it's not like you can never talk to that person or go there again. But it's just completing a certain version of that dynamic, completing that dynamic at that time, a nice bow on it, and then moving forward into a blank slate. And I actually think that's a really good practice to do, even if you just want to shift the energy in your space. So if you're living somewhere long term and it's feeling a little stale, it can be really nice to drop into a ritual and kind of connect with what those energies have been, and maybe how the home has been feeling, how you've been feeling, the patterns that have been going on, and making sure you're on the same page and saying, okay, like, can we close up this iteration of our contract? And having a full closing session, cut the cords, and then let's open up a new iteration. These are the intentions for our new contract together, the way that we are going to spend time with each other now. And so that's a really great way to energetically shift things so that you can form new habits. And I've done this whenever I feel like I'm really stuck in a groove somewhere that I don't necessarily like. I will kind of close up that chapter energetically, and then I will reopen a new contract and be really intentional about what the energy is that I want to activate in that space. And we have to remember, like, our spaces are holding us. They are doing so much to take care of us. Like, they're literally it's literally the roof over our heads. I think that people really forget how much these spaces are doing for us. And I think just showing up with that reverence and that collaboration energy is really powerful. So I want you to remember that you can do all of this yourself at home. And there is a new energy work inside of the app in Next Level You. If you want to download the Christina the Channel app, that will be to help you connect with the energy of your space so that you can have some of these conscious conversations as well and see what wants to come through. So I like to pay attention to the visuals, the feelings, and any of the messages. So just depending on how your intuition shows up, you can listen in or perceive from that lens. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in. This won't be like the final conversation. I'm not going to do all the chords, but we'll see what she has to say. And I'm just going to connect in with the space. She's very happy, which makes me, she's like, my favorite show when I was a child was Dragon Tales. So I remember that. She's showing me clouds and it's like Dragon Tales. It's very magical and soft. She feels very just like happy and joyful and just like cloudy, restored. Okay, so I want to know how you're feeling as we close up the space. Are you as aware? She's saying, yes, I'm very aware. And she's saying that she's like vortexing certain spots. Interesting. She's showing me certain spots in the office. Like there's a spot out there. I'm seeing two different spots out. One in my office, one in the waiting room. There's one in the corner of that other office. And there's like 3 spots in the back of the event space she's showing me. And she's showing me like these whirling funnels. She's like, those are extra spaces that need extra energy movement, but they're also kind of like power places to stand. She's telling me to stand there before I leave and kind of like close up those energies. She's saying one of the most important things that us being here did was we restored the grid. And she's talking about how there is this really beautiful interaction between like when people are here and doing spiritual work and meditating and sending love, and how that actually, like, she's showing me the visual of the grid on the walls and places where it was broken and it's actually getting re-plugged in. And she's saying that it can actually restore the energetic technology. But she's talking about this feedback loop, again, that happens between the space and the person, and how the more connected you are with the energy of that space, I guess, are you turning this into lessons about spaces? She's like, yeah. It kind of amplifies that frequency within you. And so that's why it's so important to feel into the highest potential of the space that you're landing, because that will help to amplify the energy within you. So places that, I don't know, like are a bit more homey, or going back to that kind of green thumb energy, sometimes they feel like a loving grandmother energy. That's going to turn on this more like taking care of feeling within you, or even this more can be kind of like, like the green thumb version of you, things like that. You're in that feedback loop with each other. And it's also connected to the type of, she's saying, spirits and other frequencies where it's easier to to connect in certain areas. So she's saying that each of these rooms actually has a different, okay, this makes sense. Like different types of spirits are more drawn to each of the rooms. This is so funny. She's saying like basically the waiting room it has this vortex at the bottom, and it's a place where people, because they're sitting there, it like releases old energy for them before they even walk in. My office is doing all kinds of stuff. And that's like, there's every single frequency bandwidth can come in there. What's going on in that front office? She says it depends on the day, but it feels like, and it's like an open door and only one type of energy can come in and one at a time. This room is where it gets more grounded. Interestingly, like, yeah, she's saying this room is where the higher frequencies ground in and translate in. It's a little bit like there's a landing energy here, and it converts into what's practical for people. Out there is more ideation and brainstorming, but she's saying out there is not really the place where you figure it out. It's more like ideation, like the energy is just running. And back in the event space, again, like, but it's pure frequency is landing into the body in that space. And so how much of that is just the habit? Like, how much of that is just because we're doing these different things there, it creates it, versus how much are you doing is my question for her. But she's saying it's definitely the habit, right? Which is why your intention and your actions and what you're doing in each part of your space matters so much, because you're imprinting that in the field. But then going back to that feedback loop, that's where she's kind of feeding into that and adding something extra to it. So working with the consciousness of the space can actually help amplify the power of it. You just want everything to be a vibrational match. It's kind of like picking the right people to work with you. You don't want the exact same person. You want people with different skills who are really good at their skills, and thinking about your space in your home, like who is an ally, who's a really good collaborator, or we're not exactly the same, but we both add to each other's, we maybe add a strength that the other person doesn't have as much, and you're amplifying each other's feedback loop. And she's showing it kind of like, okay, and then the contract with the space is done when the entire grid has been restored as much as it can from your frequency, and then also your frequency has been activated as much as it can from her frequency. But so what's like setting your energy to start with? The space has a lot of potentials. Spaces have a lot of potential. She's saying a lot of it has to do with the land. Interesting. She's showing it to me like a cake, right? Like you can have all these ingredients, but I could make a funfetti cake. I could make chocolate chip muffins. I could make pancakes, but there's like similar ingredients, right? And she's saying that with spaces, you're looking at all the ingredients, all of the people that helped actually build the space, put their energy, time into it, intention into it, the different, for example, the different businesses that have been here, they're all adding different ingredients. And then there's also the actual land. The land here is not super, it's more blank slatey than it is, like it has its own strong consciousness, right? When you go to certain areas, there's a very strong personality. There's a very strong, solid frequency already formed that's not going to be adjusted. And then there are more places that are more formable. And she just keeps saying like there's lots of potentialities, and different people will bring out different potentials, but the people that stay or have the biggest impact are picking up on the potential that's most aligned and then activating that. And so she's basically saying like, now that this has been spiritually activated, like this part of her isn't going to go away, essentially. And it's going to attract a very different type of person. So she's just bringing up again how important it is to clear out spaces, because she's showing like, think about the layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of people, and like the people who were in here before, everything they were doing and their energy, and whoever was in here before that, what they were doing and their energy. It's like totally different businesses and companies and different conversations. And when that all just layers on top of each other, it can feel kind of thick and hazy. But if we can start to clear out the energies of buildings in our spaces, we're going to have an easier time being more creative. She's saying we're going to have an easier time getting more inspiration. We're also going to have an easier time forming new beliefs and new habits. And she's saying that a lot of times people are stuck because they are trying to clear things out or think in a new way, but they're in that soup of all of those energies that haven't been cleared, or even thinking about how much we process in our homes and where is that going. And the home is just holding it. So you're sitting there processing your limiting belief, and then it just flies out into the corner. And then tomorrow you're trying to think in a new creative way, but that limiting belief energy is just hanging out there saying hi, and you can feel it. And so this is so interesting. And she's saying this is why people can get one of the reasons why people can get such clear answers out in nature, because nature is naturally cleansing itself, right? Or like if you're on the grass, if you're by the ocean, you're in nature, you're not dealing with that layer of soup, because Gaia is cleansing herself and clearing and transmuting consistently because of her consciousness, versus having the container that's holding you. Like, this does hold energy in a certain way, going back to the vibrational hot box that we create in spaces. So what is it? What do I want to ask? She is very happy. She's kind of upset that I didn't do this before. I guess she wanted to be on the podcast. Sorry. No, but she's laughing. I feel like she's matured so much. She's so much stronger now. She's like, yeah, like, I mean, she's so much more strong. Like, she's stronger. She's more mature and more playful. I don't know how to describe this, like more mature, more solid, more playful. And at the beginning she was a lot like hazier and like lighter and angelic and almost, what's that word, like amorphous, that's the word that's coming in. And she's like, yeah, it helped me find myself. Oh, because so many people came here to find themselves, and they did. That's really sweet. So what do you feel like is the main thing that you were offering to people here? She's saying space to come home to themselves, space to connect with their souls, space to release things that she's saying it like rattles up things beneath so it can get cleared. And she's saying that's why a lot of people just when they come here, they cry or they feel very different. It's a very common thing for people to just come in and start crying, and they'll say, I don't even know why I'm crying. But she's saying it can like rattle up those things that are ready to be cleared so they can be transmuted and released. But it's meant to be a very light space. It's meant to be a more playful space and not this really heavy location. She's also saying that this place was just very protected and did a lot of deflection. And that I needed to just trust that. I needed to trust who was attracted here and who was deflected. And that it's an important learning lesson for me around where my business brain comes into play, and where that can ride the line between trying to force things or control things because I'm planning. Like, planning can sometimes roll over into that, and it was really meant to like challenge me and into learning what it would be to really trust the space that holds me, and to trust like who and what is supposed to be here, and not try to make it be something else, which makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else you want to say about this contract? I mean, she's saying that she just got so much soul healing, that every person who had a healing here, it also healed something within her as well. And that every single person who came in like added to the grid and added to the color and added to the restoration, and that there are a lot of like sparks of insight and sparks of intuitive questioning, she's saying, that were really important. And a lot of it had to do with just coming here. And she was saying it's like once you knew you were coming to Dreamland, and same thing for me, but if you ever had a session here, or if you came to an event, she's showing it like the second somebody said yes. There's this really important interaction when somebody like bought a ticket or said yes or signed up. The second that happened, she was picking up on, it's like she's showing it like a lamppost, picking up on the energy that they needed, and already starting to vortex that signal, and already starting to like do some activation and clearing and healing, so that by the time that person came here is already like right there, and just needed to be the baking need to get finished, quote unquote. So it's already like creating, it's this really interesting ping. And she's bringing up a lot that happens at night, like Dreamland. Oh my God. What? I mean, I didn't pick the name. She told me the name. But she's literally saying it. Oh my God. That's like so. I can't believe I didn't ask that before. I never really, I thought Dreamland, like your dreams come true. But she's saying like literally once you say yes while you're sleeping, she's doing dream work to clear things out. I am shook. It's so good. Is there anything else I'm not getting around that? There's a huge, okay. Wow. Putting puzzle pieces together. She's saying, okay, once you say yes, or once you know you're coming, and even like me, if I'm like, there's a really important thing. This is so interesting about planning to come here. She's saying even for me, around like when I put on my calendar, okay, I'm at the office, and putting it on my Google Calendar and making that, like saying yes, what that does is it starts to like ping me, and then messages I'm getting intuitively in meditation, but while I'm sleeping, there's this interaction with the stars. Like she works a lot with the star codes. And this is what she's like, that's why I keep getting messages. I need to go bathe under the starlight. I need to like receive those codes, because she works a lot with the specific stars to send activations as well. But there's a lot going on, like literally in the dream space. And she's also saying, wow, like there's been so much clearing. I've been having, I mean, I always have crazy dreams. I've always had crazy dreams, but it's been extra intense, I would say, in the last year since I've been here. And I did not put this together, that a lot of how things are getting cleared out is in the dream space. Like things can get healed really fast here and change really fast here, because there's already that interaction of what's happening while we're sleeping and while we're cleansing. Wow, that's so great. Okay, thank you for that one. Is there, she's just saying, she's like asking me to tell people to trust where they need to be, especially right now, and that right now places are calling to certain people because they hold codes for people, but also they're acting as these mediators and these lighthouses to connect people right now more than anything else. And she's showing me certain buildings pinging, lighting up, where you might feel really called to go to this certain grocery store or move to this place or visit this house, because they are, it's not only that they're holding codes, but she's really bringing up that they are trying to connect people right now, like, and really starting to realize that land and spaces, and she's bringing up that distinction between, working with land is different than working with spaces, but she's showing me their whole network, like the mycelium network, right? Everything is just like mushroom mycelium networks. And she's showing me all these buildings and how they're all in this big mycelium network. And when somebody sends out a telepathic ping or a prayer or an intention, she's like literally showing me the whole network lighting up. It's like traveling from this house to this house to this building, and then finding all the connection points and then pinging them and trying to call the people that need to meet, or where the idea plops in. Okay, this is cool. So she's showing me, like, let's say somebody makes a prayer. This is happening very fast, so let me break it down. Let's say I pray for something here. And then she's showing me a random smoothie shop in Carlsbad. And I make this prayer, and there's somebody else involved, and this person lives up in Oceanside, and this place gets pinged, this coffee shop, because it's a space where that's in this person's awareness and in my awareness, and we're supposed to meet. And then we both get the intuitive pull, or we get an opportunity that brings us to the smoothie shop, and then we meet. And that's that place is doing that vibrational pulling. Okay. The other option is she's showing me, like, let's say I ask a question, or I pray for something, I set intention, I ask my guides, and now she's using the smoothie shop again. Is this why this is my favorite smoothie shop? Yes. Okay. So I say something, Now, somebody else lives in the area, and she goes to that place and she's having a conversation with her friend, or she's on her laptop. She's showing me somebody's on her laptop, and then she's journaling and she's coming up with an idea, or she's thinking about something. She's processing something. This woman leaves. I get called. I need to go get a smoothie from this place. And I go get a smoothie and I sit down, and I happen to sit down at the same table that this woman was at yesterday, 2 days ago, doing her processing. That woman left the grid, the template, the code right there in the field. It's hanging out there like a cloud, an invisible cloud. And I get the insight right there that I needed. She just processed what I needed the information I needed to get for my own clarity, my own process. Got it because I was in that place. This is so cool. She's like laughing and clapping. She's like, when you start to understand how places interact like this, you are going to have a new sense of reverence for spaces. You are going to have, she's showing somebody's eyes getting really big, like realizing more of the magic that's really held in every space, and even with items, and how that there's this very intricate network between all of these places always supporting you. Wow, that is very interesting. I really like that. And so she's saying the most important thing is learning. There's a lot of deconditioning here around learning to really fall intuitively where we're pulled. And you have to really set aside why you could be getting intuitively pulled there. So she's saying the biggest block is people are always trying to logically think, why am I pulled there? Instead of just knowing you're pulled there. And even with the smoothie example, she's like, you're probably thinking you're pulled there because you're supposed to have a smoothie today. When it's not about having a smoothie today, it's about you needed to be in the energy cloud of that person that was there 3 days ago because they left the answer for you in that space. So setting that aside is really important, and kind of realizing how often all of this is in flux, because once you send out the call, it's not that that imprint has even been left there yet, because the call gets sent out by you. Then that person needs to get the intuitive hit to go somewhere, process. Then the network knows, oh, the cloud was left there. So then that cloud starts to call you. And she's just saying a lot of people are very impatient. And this is where it might not feel like you instantaneously get the intuitive hit or the intuitive knowing. But you have to know that when you set that intention, or, have that prayer, ask that question, it's all in motion. And then you just stay open to where you're getting pulled, and it will get answered. She's saying usually the longest is 7 days. That you gotta hold your energy of like it is getting answered. Okay, wow, this is very interesting. Is there anything that you want us to know, like as we're closing the space? She's saying most of the conversation will be between me and her at the very end. But she's saying that she's really proud of everybody who's come here and transformed and grown, and how really grateful for all the open hearts, just how much people open their heart and how much people drop in and like trust this space. There's a lot of authenticity. She says that runs through this field, and it activates even more authenticity for people as well. And she's saying sometimes it can even feel a little hazy here because so much is moving and transforming. It's almost like the vibrational cloud here is a little thick. It's so interesting because I definitely feel that. I've always wondered about that. I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm like in the clouds, literally. And I was like, is it just because I channel a lot here? But she's saying it's literally because all of the codes are so thick. Like I can see it all right now in front of me. It's like a giant web that we could just rework right here. And she's saying knowing the spaces to go. This is a very real thing. It's an important thing. The spaces to go where it is just easier to manipulate the field, and you go there to heal. And sometimes people are stuck because they want everything to be done. It's like they're trying to do everything in their bedroom at home or whatever. She's calling it like holy sites. There is real value to holy sites and holy places and sacred spaces and places where the energy is just open to move the grid. Like in this room right here, it's so easy to manipulate the field. And other places, it's not as easy for it to instantly shift. And there's nothing wrong with that. She's coming back to just like dropping the resistance and appreciating spaces for what they are, and and that really a lot of spaces right now are asking people to learn the value of movement. She's saying a lot of people have really gotten out of like moving, and they're spending a lot of time in one location, and it's one of the biggest things that's affecting us negatively, and that we need to learn to move and really work with spaces in a more powerful way, and that will change a lot and make our manifestations happen much faster. Thank you for that. All right, is there anything else you would like to share today? You don't even seem sad. She doesn't even seem sad. She's like laughing. She's like, she's just very grateful. Wow. Sometimes houses are like crying when I leave. She's not even sad. She's very grateful. She's like, I mean, we both knew going into this, it was just going to be a year. And she's like, feels very ready and solid and stable, and is already set up to kind of transmute anything that comes next and activate whoever or whatever comes next. Interesting. Saying something about the next person. It's fine. But learning to leave and leave in celebration is a really powerful thing. And she's saying that there will be some special things happening in the last 2 weeks here. Thank you. I love to be surprised. So I'm open to any surprises you want to give me, positive surprises. She's literally laughing and saying, I saved the best for last. Okay, great. Because I've had so many amazing experiences here, but let's do it. I would like a little something magical. Thank you. Okay, anything else you want to say? No, that's it for now. Okay, thank you. All right, settled in. That was fun. Wow, I feel like I got a lot of info out of that. So that's an example of a way that I talk to a space, and you can ask literally anything. I mean, I wanted to just see whatever she wanted to share right now. I think we got some good stuff, but I really encourage you to start to interact with places like this. This is learning that everything is energy, and integrating that and living that out instead of just knowing it. And you can do that at home. So you can try out my Connect with Your Space guided energy work. You can do a 7-day free trial in the Christina the Channel app. Just download that on any app store, or go to christinathechannel.com/membership for that 7-day free trial. You can just drop in on your own and connect either way. But I really encourage you to practice this, because it can give you a lot of answers. I mean, I just got so many answers right there. I've got to re-listen to that. And I know that Dreamland is very grateful for everybody who has come here, who has been here. And also, you know, if you're watching the video, like, you're also here energetically, right? Places where we watch the videos, you've also been here too. So it's really cool to see how that energy all interacts. So that's where we will land today. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope that you got something interesting out of this. I would love to hear any insights you had. Maybe you had an aha about your own space, your own contract with your space, just by listening to this, or anything that you found out about Dreamland that was interesting for you. I always love to read your comments. So I would love if you commented below if you're watching on YouTube. And keep me updated what happens when you connect with your space and what you find out. All right. So thanks again so much for hanging out with me today. I will chat with you again in the next episode.